All right, today we're diving into something that could fix one of the most annoying problems in AI. It's a new framework called UnWeaver, and its goal is pretty simple, to untangle the messy web of information that AIs use so we get much cleaner and way more accurate answers. You know the feeling, right? You ask an AI a question, and the answer you get back is, well, it's a bit tangled. It mixes up some correct facts with completely random details, or sometimes it just confidently makes something up. This whole problem of AI hallucinations isn't just a random glitch. It actually starts with how the AI finds its information in the first place. So most of the AI systems we use today work with something called Retrieval-augmented generation, or RAG for short. The key thing to remember is they don't just know things. They have to look up information from a database, usually by grabbing these big chunks of text. And here's the problem. Those chunks are often a total mess. A single paragraph can ramble on about multiple, totally unrelated ideas, and that creates a noisy context that just ends up confusing the AI. Now, to solve this noise problem, researchers have really come up with two main ways of doing things. But as we're about to see, both of them come with their own pretty serious downsides. So you're kind of stuck with this dilemma. On one hand, you have VectorRAG. It's fast, it's simple, it just finds text that seems relevant, but it often grabs a ton of unrelated noise along for the ride. On the other hand, you've got GraphRAG. This thing builds a super detailed map of how every single concept connects to every other concept. It's incredibly precise. The catch? Building and managing that map is insanely complex and super expensive. It's the classic trade-off, speed versus accuracy. And this brings us right to the big question that the researchers behind UnWeaving were asking. Is there a way to get that super sharp, precise retrieval of a knowledge graph, but do it with the speed and simplicity of a vector search? What if you didn't have to choose? And their answer is a resounding yes. This is where the UnWeaving method comes into play. It's a really clever approach designed to give us the best of both worlds. So let's see how it actually disentangles all this messy knowledge. At its core, UnWeaving is all about one central idea, disentangling. So instead of looking at messy chunks of text, it uses a large language model to first go in and pull out the core concepts, the entities or the ideas, from within each chunk. This process creates a much cleaner, more focused version of the information. This diagram really gives you the whole picture. The first thing to notice is that it's split into two parts. Up top, you've got the indexing phase. This is all the smart prep work that UnWeaving does ahead of time, completely offline. It breaks down the text and gets everything organized. Then, down below, is the querying phase. This is the lightning-fast part that happens the moment you actually ask a question. And that separation is the real key to its efficiency. Let's break that down step by step. First, an LLM goes through and extracts all the key ideas, these entities. Step 2 is something called canonicalization, which is really just a smart way of saying it finds identical ideas and merges them. So all mentions of COVID-19 and coronavirus, for example, become one single concept with a much richer description. Third, these clean, merged concepts get stored. Now, when you ask a question, the system finds the most relevant concepts. And here's the really brilliant part, step 5. Those concepts get to vote for the original text chunks where they first appeared. This entity voting idea is the real game changer here. Think of it like a little election. Your query asks, okay, who here knows about this topic? The most relevant entities all raise their hands. Then, those entities cast a vote for the original source documents they came from. The text chunks that get the most votes are the only ones passed to the AI to form an answer. It's just such a smart way to filter out all the noise and guarantee that only the highest quality information makes it through. Okay, so the theory sounds really elegant, right? But does it actually work any better? Let's take a look at the data. Well, the numbers pretty much speak for themselves. This table is measuring factual correctness, so higher is better. On both the COVID QA dataset and this e-manual dataset, just look at the highlighted numbers. UnWeaving consistently scores higher than both the simple VectorRAG and the much, much more complex GraphRAG. It's a clear winner when it comes to accuracy. And this chart really just drives the point home. If you look at the COVID QA dataset, you can see that GraphRAG, for all its complexity, actually performs the worst. VectorRAG is better for sure, but UnWeaving just inches ahead to take the top spot for factual accuracy. So it's more accurate, but that must mean it's slower, right? Well, amazingly, no, because all the hard work is done offline during that indexing phase. When you actually ask a question, it's just as fast as the simpler systems.
The paper calls it negligible additional latency, which is basically just tech speak for you get all this extra precision for free with no extra waiting time.
So what's the big picture here? What's the main takeaway? It's all about getting the best of both worlds, where precision finally meets simplicity. This quote from the paper just sums it up perfectly. UnWeaving manages to get the high precision, low noise results that you expect from a super complex knowledge graph, but it does it all inside a framework that's almost as simple and fast as a standard vector search. So let's just bring it all home. What is the ultimate promise of this UnWeaving framework? When you boil it all down, UnWeaving delivers on a really simple but incredibly powerful promise. You get the precision of a complex graph with the speed and simplicity of a vector. It just eliminates the trade-off, giving you both accuracy and efficiency.
And this leaves us with a really fascinating final thought. By focusing not on the raw text itself, but on disentangling the core ideas within that text, UnWeaving might be pointing the way to the future. I mean, could this be the key to building AI systems that are not only more knowledgeable, but are fundamentally more coherent and trustworthy?